Okay.
Hey guys, and welcome to Tnashi's Movie Corner. And for today's movie versus matchup, I am doing How to Train Your Dragon 2 versus Aladdin. So in order to determine the winner of this matchup, we go based upon plot, main character, side characters, songs, humor, villain / antagonist, cast, romance, action, themes, and memorability. And so starting this off, we're going to give the plot. This was actually a little tricky. This is hard to decide because there were elements of the plot for Aladdin that really worked and really fit together well. And there's parts of How to Train Your Dragon 2 that really work and fit together well. You've got emotional beats in both. You've got a lot of connections between the characters. I do feel like Aladdin is a little more fine-tuned than How to Train Your Dragon 2, because Aladdin, aside from a brief moment in the beginning, which kind of sets us into this world, it really stays on point. And How to Train Your Dragon 2 has a longer stretch before it really gets to the heart of what the plot is. So for that reason, we had to give it to Aladdin. For main characters was, another difficult one, because we had Hiccup, which is, he's a really strong main character, and he's a really likable guy and everything, but you see him, and he has a lot that he has to deal with in this movie. A lot of things that he might have had to deal with slightly touched upon in the last movie, but it becomes a little more difficult because he can't pin down. There's this whole thing about not being able to change people, and he has to understand that that's actually a possibility, that his way isn't always the way that it ends up going. So that's really good. At the same time, you have Aladdin, and Aladdin is, again, another really likable character. He does steal, but you understand that he's stealing for a living. And he showcases being good, and diamond in the rough bit. And he does a lot of lying to try to get his way, but over the course of the movie, there's an idea that might not be the way to go, and that he should learn from it. But realistically, when it came down to it, I think Hiccup had the better arc, the more concrete arc with him, and they're both really likable characters, but Aladdin didn't have too much that went against him, even after, doing all the lying and everything, which is what, he had grown into doing, I guess. So I don't know, he just didn't have as much development, and he kind of realized something, but there's really no consequences for his actions. Whereas Hiccup had to learn a really hard lesson, and had to step up and kind of take on this new role that he was scared of. So for that reason, we gave it to How to Train Your Dragon 2. Moving on to side characters, though, we gave it to Aladdin. Jasmine, she's a pretty good side character, as well as Iago's funny. Abu has a little bit. The Sultan's not really, but realistically, it comes down to Genie, and Genie's got a bit. And so between Genie and Jasmine, there's quite a bit there. How to Train Your Dragon 2 does have numerous side characters, but they're really only there for laughs. Astrid's one of the only ones that you can say has that much development, and Hiccup's parents, but they're just not in the movie, and they're not strong enough, whereas Genie is kind of the heart of the movie, and Jasmine, as an important side character, does have quite a bit going for her as well. So for that reason, we had to give it to Aladdin. For songs, we also had to give it to Aladdin. How to Train Your Dragon 2, again, its biggest fault with songs is it has a few poppy songs in there, but they're just kind of in there, where Aladdin has songs that are focused within the story, and they don't all particularly develop the story as much, but there's a few of them that do. And, for the most part, they seem to work out pretty well. For humor, humor was another tough one because they both showcased a lot of humor. But we had to go ahead and give it to How to Train Your Dragon 2 because I think it just does it a little bit more. Again, going back to the side characters, there's a lot of humor with the side characters. And there's a darker moment in the film for sure. But it is surrounded both in the beginning and near the middle and then at the end with humor. Laugh out loud humor as well as a little chuckles. So for villain, though, we had to give it to Aladdin. Jafar is by far a more developed villain than the one in How to Train Your Dragon 2. How to Train Your Dragon 2, that's probably the weakest part of the movie, is the villain. And Aladdin just proves that, it's one of those villains that's iconic because of the voice acting, because of what he does, his kind of tricks that he does. His goals are just kind of the average goals, but it's kind of just showcasing of his character, how he acts, and again how he manipulates and gets manipulated at the end, and everything that really makes him a great villain. Moving on to cast. Cast was really tough. Really had to give that to How to Train Your Dragon 2, though. It has a bigger cast, but it also has a cast that at this point is more defined as those characters and stands out as those characters. And they have a lot of mannerisms and with their voices and everything that really works well. There's no one that can really replace Robin Williams as Genie. That is the strongest point of Aladdin. Again, Jafar's voice is good. Iago's is good. Yeah. But there's just not enough there to warrant it winning. For romance, well, romance was kind of tough in the way because How to Train Your Dragon 2 has two romances. They kind of build off of previous stuff. With Hiccup's parents, it's built off of because you know back in the past they used to be together, obviously, and then for Hiccup and Astrid, it's built off of the first one. So a lot of times that doesn't work as well. But we actually gave it to How to Train Your Dragon 2 because they're showcased, I think, better than and more believable than the Aladdin one, which is kind of more or less love at first sight kind of thing. And then there's issues that they should have had addressed in the movie and they didn't, and it just kind of felt like it was thrown in there. So How to Train Your Dragon 2 wins it for being more believable, I guess. Moving on to action. Action was another one that was pretty difficult because they both showcased quite a bit of action in it. But we gave the edge to How to Train Your Dragon 2 because I think there's just a few more action scenes, and particularly a scene I've referenced earlier. Very long stage action scene that ends in kind of tragedy and really showcases the sense of loss that you can get with these movies, which is really powerful. So for that reason, How to Train Your Dragon 2 wins that one. For moving on to themes, we gave that one to Aladdin. That was a little hard to do because Aladdin doesn't completely go into resolving some of the themes that it sets out to address, at least not in the manner of which I would prefer, but there's more themes available there than How to Train Your Dragon 2 has. And they're more set through the movie, not by much, but by a little over How to Train Your Dragon 2. And moving on to memorability, we had to go ahead and give that one to Aladdin. How to Train Your Dragon 2, again, has that emotional scene. There's a few other scenes in it that are pretty good, a flying sequence and such, that work pretty well. But Aladdin, it's just scene after scene after scene. There's just so many to go through between the Cave of Wonders and trying to escape and, meeting Genie and the whole New World sequence. The Prince Ali sequence is actually one of them that I probably didn't even think about before, but there's that. There's the fight with Jafar. There's just so many that kind of really stand out through the movie. And the funny thing is, you can just take those scenes and pin together the movie. Like, you can get a summary of the movie and a good indication of what the story is, which is good. So, yeah, so that'll wrap that up. And looks like we have a 5-6 vote in favor of Aladdin. So Aladdin wins, which, that one was really tough. And I kind of wanted How to Train Your Dragon 2 to win in a way, because I wanted a DreamWorks film to make it to the top. But it happens. Aladdin's a really good film, a really classic film. I enjoy it. It's one of my top favorites. So yeah, it makes sense that it would win this. But what do I know? Go ahead and let me know in the comments, what do you think about it? Do you agree or do you disagree? And why? And also, if you haven't noticed, I've done a video regarding a new giveaway. It's Tis the Season giveaway. So go check that out when you get a chance. Thank you so much for watching. And hopefully you'll click that like button, watch my other videos. And if you aren't subscribed, subscribe to my channel. Anyway, until next time, peace.